So what does a fearful avoidant actually need in order to heal? And is it possible? Straight off the bat, yes, it is possible. I know it is possible, but they have to really, really want to heal. So this video is going to be relevant to anyone who identifies with the fearful avoidant attachment style, and hopefully give you some hope that you can heal. And it'll also really be helpful for anybody on the receiving end of being with somebody who is avoidant or fearful avoidant. And I'm saying fearful avoidant in this video because I feel like the dismissive avoidants are less likely to want to work on it. This is my opinion, okay? It's not a fact. But dismissive avoidants dismiss things, and fearful avoidants are more likely to obsess and analyze and want to ruminate on the way that they show up in relationships. But they still find it, even if they want to heal, they find it really hard to stay in connection when those feelings of dysregulation and overwhelm come up. They just don't know what to do with that. So that's why they very often will pull away. Yeah. So in this video, we're going to talk about what they actually need in order for them to actually heal, which is of course possible. So before I get into this video, I want to let you know that I've got one space left in the self-abandonment trap. Abandoning yourself happens for anxious people and avoidance. Avoidants are also abandoning themselves, right? So we both do it. Like I've said many times, the anxious and the avoidant, they mirror each other with different sets of behaviors. Yeah, but the experience of abandoning yourself means that you give up parts of yourself or what you need in order to keep the connection intact. And then you grow in resentment, you grow in anger towards the other person. And before you know it, you're a shell of yourself and your spark has died, your creativity has died. And so in order for relationships to stay healthy, we have to learn to stay in connection to ourselves. And it's what I'm going to come on to in a minute with the fearful avoidant. So if you want to go on this experiential journey with me for 6 weeks, we start on Tuesday. There is one space left. You can use the discount code FREEDOM350. Okay. So when it comes to a fearful avoidant, they get a lot of shame, right? They already carry a lot of shame. And you can see it in my comments section, people shame avoidance. And it makes sense because being on the receiving end of it is often feels like rejection. It feels horrible to be on the receiving end of somebody, particularly if you are anxious, who's pulling away, who's distancing themselves, who goes quiet, who shuts down. Okay, that feels really, really bad. But shame is the very last thing that a fearful avoidant needs in order to overcome their relational wounds, which stem for a long way back from their childhood. And so a lot of their experience is pre-verbal. This is why they struggle to even know or communicate. If you sat down with them and said, what are you feeling? Can we sit with it for a minute? They would not be able to put words to it because they haven't learned that. They didn't learn that it was safe to feel what they were feeling growing up, and therefore didn't know that they could express their needs. Maybe it was not safe to do so, because they had maybe, extreme situations where they had an abusive parent, or they had shame, ridicule, bullying, all this kind of thing growing up. So feeling their emotions did not feel safe. So they learnt to shut them down and to really repress them, to the point where they haven't learned in their adult life that it is safe to do so. And so your instinct, being on the receiving end of this, might be to tell them, you are safe, you can express yourself with me. They will experience that as pressure because they know that you want something from them. And this is the other wound that they have, is often a huge sense of responsibility for other people. So they start to feel like they need to be a certain way, that other people expect them to be a certain way. And this is why they often are drawn to anxious people who do want a lot from them. Their wound requires them to be really present, to be there with them, to heal them, right? They think that anxious people think that that's what they need from their partner. So there's this dependency that then makes the avoidant feel overwhelmed. And both people kind of trigger the hell out of each other. So an avoidant, essentially, the bottom line is they are learning, they need to feel safe first before they can connect. Yeah, they struggle massively with dysregulation. They struggle to regulate the shutdown responses that make them want to pull away, that make their feelings just go flat on the floor. That is just severe dysregulation. It's like the top of the polyvagal theory. You've got regulation down here, then you've got the flight response that's in the middle, then you've got freeze at the top. Peak dysregulation is shut down. In order to get back down to regulation, you have to pass through dysregulation again. You have to pass through the flight response. So it kind of goes up and then you've got to come down. So what goes up has to come down, and you have to pass through the flight response in order to get back down to dysregulation. But they feel so overwhelmed with that process of regulation, right? Regulation is not just feeling calm. It's being able to feel overwhelmed. It's being able to feel stressed. It's being able to feel your body go into anger, and to be able to process that safely. But fearful avoidance didn't have that safety. They didn't have that mirroring that it was okay to feel what you feel. And so whenever they feel these feelings, actually, it's very, very messy. It's very messy. And so they need the safety in order for them to be able to let it be okay to be where they are. So if they need space, what they're likely to do is shame themselves and think, why am I doing this? Why do I need space again? Why am I shutting down again? What's wrong with me? And if they have a partner on the receiving end of that being like, when are you coming back? What are you doing? They're going to start to feel pressure to just resolve this dysregulation really quickly, which makes them feel worse. Right? So they need to be able to be within themselves, say, of course you feel like this. This makes sense. Let's just be where we are. Yeah. If they have a regulated partner on the receiving end of this, who has compassion, understanding for this process that they're learning to teach themselves to feel their messy emotions that are very childlike, like I've said in other videos, it'll come out very in a childlike way because it is childlike, because it's coming from long ago. Yeah. Like anyone learning to do anything, you don't do it perfectly the first time, the second time, the third time. There's lots of kind of fumbling around that happens. And it's a bit like I was saying to a client earlier today, like, it's being able to be like, imagine a scared puppy, right? Imagine the avoidant as a terrified puppy. He's going, no, I'm not coming near you. I'm not coming near you. I don't want to come near you. And rather than going, come on, picking the puppy up and making it basically frightened, it's going to bite you if you do that. It's going to hurt you if you do that. Yeah. But it's being able to go, that's where they are today. The puppy does not want to be picked up. It is scared. We have to treat it as it is right now and be like, I'm here, but I will not come closer if you don't want me to, right? This is not, as an anxious person, this is not your job. This is not your job to do this. It's being able to have an understanding of what is going on with this person, but they themselves do need to seek out safe relationships that are maybe not romantic first in order to practice this, like learning to ride a bike. Yeah. This is why therapy is so important. It's the experience of being with someone safe and them hearing, yeah, of course you feel overwhelmed. Of course you feel shut down. I'm here with you while you're shut down. That's okay. We're not going to rush it. We're not going to force this to get better straight away. You can be shut down as long as you want, right? If you're a partner who's wanting connection, that's not really going to work for you, is it? If you're really wanting it right now to be connected while this person is learning to regulate and heal, then that's going to create conflict and fear for you and pressure for them. And so it's being able to sort of be really honest with yourself, because I think what a lot of anxious people do in this situation is they go, oh, I know what they need now. I could have done that. I could have done that. I could have let my needs go away for a bit while I focused on them, and then they would be able to give me what I need. But actually, an avoidant will often carry these coping mechanisms for a very, very long time. They might never be the over affectionate puppy. They might never be like that. this coping mechanism that they have is very, very hardwired into their nervous system. So they might always have the instinct to pull away or to shut down or to kind of find it very difficult to express or connect to what they're feeling, and therefore feel overwhelmed and not know what to do with that. But they learn over time to have compassion for themselves, for it to be safe for them to feel what they feel. Connection to them feels scary, reminds them of scarier times. That does not mean that they are in danger right now, but as they are learning that their body is reacting not necessarily to the present but to the past, they have to have as much compassion and room for them to feel the way that they feel, so that they can learn to regulate. So they essentially need understanding. They need space and compassion for what they're feeling right now. And this is a lot to do with the way that they themselves interpret their feelings. The other thing that fearful avoidance can do is go really up into their heads and try and analyze and think about their feelings a lot. Really, fearful avoidance, contrary to popular opinion or belief, unlike dismissive avoidance, right? Fearful avoidance are more likely to obsess, analyze, do loads of work on themselves, read loads of books and things like this, because they really want to understand. They've taught themselves that being responsible, understanding, figuring things out gets them some level of safety. Yeah. And so they stay up in their heads. And that's part of the problem that keeps them stuck up there, is them wanting to figure things out. And so they need to learn to come back into their body, and somatic work can really be very helpful for that. Somatic work is being with the experience of what they're experiencing without rushing or needing to understand it or change it. Anxious people are also do the same thing, right? We are up in our heads and try and figure things out. And the same rule applies to anxious people as much as it does to fearful avoidance. Going up into your head will only get you so far, but feeling is the secret. Feeling is the way out. The only way out is through, and it is messy, it's overwhelming at times, and so they really need a lot of safety and room to breathe as they learn a new way of being, and they let go of the coping mechanisms and survival strategies that have kept them safe in some capacity, but haven't led them to the connection that they actually desperately want. Yeah. So this is the thing with fearful avoidance, is that they're shamed a lot for their understandable reactions to their past. And they need to release and let go of the shame that they've internalized. And they often can carry as well, because I was speaking to like a few clients today about anger, right? Fearful avoidance can feel really angry because they're carrying a lot of resentment and unexpressed boundaries, right? So they were in a situation where it wasn't safe to have boundaries. They weren't going to be listened to. Their boundaries, their feelings didn't matter. And so our most protective survival response is anger. Yeah. And anger is there to protect us. But when it goes unexpressed, it is internalized. And then they struggle to express that in relationships. And it comes up when connection gets too close. Like, again, the angry puppy. It's going to bite you if it feels scared. The angry puppy, the scared puppy is what I mean. You know, the one that's been kind of traumatized in the past. If you get too close to it, even if you're a great, loving caregiver for the puppy, right, it still doesn't trust you because it hasn't learned to yet. So it, again, needs safety and compassion. And this is where we are today. This is where we are. Okay, this is what we need. Okay, I understand. This is what we need, you know. And that takes a huge amount of capacity for someone to be on the receiving end of. And you have to be honest with yourself about where you're at. If you're on the receiving end of this, can you do that right now? Honestly, anxious people have less capacity for this because they are trying to heal themselves. At the same time, it can be a beautiful opportunity for both people to overcome this. And that can happen. But it takes two people to really want to do that. And that's the really beautiful thing, when both people go, oh my God, this is my history and this is my history. We can't carry this forward. We've got to heal it. You know, that's when magic happens. And it's about learning to overcome the sort of instinct survival strategies, not with this kind of like, I think the other thing that I think fearful avoidance think is they want to feel right. They want to feel better. They want to get this, they want to fix it. And they analyze their feelings, which means that it's like matter behaves differently when it's being observed. Yeah. So our feelings just kind of go silent. Oh, I'm being observed. I'm being watched. And so they don't feel the same. The other thing that fearful avoidance really need to do, like anxious people, is come back into connection with themselves. They are severely disconnected from themselves. So they need to engage in activities and do things with people and places, like I say with anxious people as well, that bring them back to themselves, right? Because they have this, like I say, over responsibility, which tends to make them feel really engulfed in relationships because they feel like I've got to give up myself in order to be here. I've got to give up my needs in order to be here. I don't want to do that. I've got to give up everything in order to be with this person. I don't want to do that. They don't feel like they can have both themselves and be a partner. They feel like the partner is the new person that they've got to be. So it means that they've got to learn a new way of having themselves and the relationship, which happens simultaneously, which is a very new concept to them, because historically they may have had to abandon their own needs in order to keep a relationship or stay safe in a relationship with someone in their family or whatever they experienced. So that's the other part of it. So there's a lot to this, the fearful avoidant attachment healing, right? There's a lot going on there. It's very complex. It's very overwhelming. It's a horrible experience to be fearful avoidant. It's very, very confusing because you really want connection, yet your body goes clench, can't, shut down. And it's about learning slowly to go, I can breathe and let go of this stuff that I've been holding on to for so long, and have that release and start to feel like you can have yourself and a relationship too. And it's possible. So yeah, I thought I'd just do this video. Like I said, there's so much to talk about when it comes to fearful avoidance. So I could probably do more videos about it, but I hope this video has been insightful for you. Like I say, I do understand both experiences. I understand being fearful avoidant, and I understand how hard it is to be on the receiving end of it. And both people need compassion. No one gets anywhere by shaming the other. And also, it's valid for both people to be angry at points, because this, like I say, is messy. It's very, very messy. And you need the safety of being able to be exactly where you are and feel exactly what you feel. Both people need that. So, like I say, if you want any more information about what I do, if you'd like to come on the self-abandonment trap, you can find out the information in the link below. And if not, then I'll see you in the next video.